On most MGBs and MGCs, I've seemed to come across these little drain hole covers. Anybody tells me, yes, you can buy them online, and they're probably about, I don't know, £8 each plus postage, and that's fine. But it's a rainy day, and I like a challenge, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to have a go at making them. So this is me having a go at making them. Luckily, my MGC still had one survivor left right at the back of the floor pan, so at least I had one I could make a template from. So it's out with the old lining paper and a quick pencil round just to make the shape, and then we can get on with the phase 2. What I've got here is some 1/4-inch bar, and I'm going to make a slot using the grinder. I'm going to cut a slot out the middle. I'm using this piece of steel as a straight edge, so when I run the grinder up, I'm trying to keep a fairly straight edge. So the idea is to make a slot in this bar and then retain the bit in the middle of the slot. So I've then got a fork with a smaller rectangular shape of steel. Now those two bits will form the pattern for the shape, which I then intend to press.
Never really know what's going tell me now, I guess I'll never know. Here we go, turning all the wrongs into rights. Here we go, you can take me there tonight. Whoa, this life is all we know.
So having made the pattern, the male and the female pattern, I've now got to put them in the press and hold them to stop them moving around, basically. Because once you've got the sheet still slid in between the two patterns, of course you can't see whether they're lined up or not. So I thought myself, use some double-sided sticky tape, and I've used it before. I tell you, it works on absolute charm, and it's cheap and it's easy, and it doesn't matter if it doesn't work first time. So I've stuck the male part of the pattern to the descending ram, and I've stuck the female part to the base plate, lining them up by eye, and then just checking that when they come down they're in pretty much the right place. Now hopefully when I press this will work, and it of course will come out perfect, and of course it will, because it always does. Okay, so the first attempt didn't work, it ripped the steel. So having had a bit of a think, what I've got to do is bevel the edge of the patterns so that when it pushes into the steel it feeds in nicely rather than a sharp edge. So okay, learn by your mistakes, a little bit of filing and jiggling and pokering, and we'll have another go. Well, maybe this time it'll work.